3 minutes.
Taking the time to read and understand the NDIS Code of Conduct is really important, especially when it impacts the support and safety of people with a disability. The NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commission was established to work with NDIS participants, service providers and workers to ensure the quality and safety of NDIS supports and services. To do this, we have rules to keep participants safe and secure, and give providers and workers the platform to deliver better support and care. This is called our NDIS Code of Conduct. Whether you're a provider, worker or participant, it's important to understand it. As a provider or worker, it sets your obligations when delivering supports and services. As a participant, it confirms what you can expect of those delivering support to you. There are several requirements in the Code of Conduct that are important for you to know. Act with respect for individual rights to freedom of expression, self-determination, and decision-making in accordance with relevant laws and conventions. Respect the privacy of people with disability. Provide supports and services in a safe and competent manner with care and skill. Act with integrity, honesty, and transparency. Promptly take steps to raise and act on concerns about matters that may impact the quality and safety of supports and services provided to people with disability. Take all reasonable steps to prevent and respond to all forms of violence against and exploitation, neglect and abuse of people with disability. Take all reasonable steps to prevent and respond to sexual misconduct. Do not charge or represent higher prices for the supply of goods for NDIS participants without a reasonable justification.
Stand clear. Train is arriving.
The NDIS Code of Conduct is here to support and promote the rights of participants. Understanding the code means, as a provider or worker, you know what is expected of you, and as a participant, you know what to expect from those delivering support to you. Knowing the code will help ensure your NDIS experience is a positive one. In this video, we'll focus on safety and competency. This element will demonstrate what it means for providers and review a real-world scenario to illustrate the code in practice. The code states NDIS providers are required to provide supports and services in a safe and competent manner with care and skill. Jordan is an NDIS participant with a psychosocial and physical disability. Jordan requires help from an NDIS provider with showering, as detailed in his support plan. Frank, a support worker from that provider, was rostered on one day to help Jordan with his showering. Frank hadn't worked with Jordan before. During the shower, Jordan struggled with his balance and ended up having a fall. Whilst accidents can occur due to unforeseen circumstances, many accidents are avoidable and can be prevented through proper processes, training and safety measures. After checking that Jordan was okay and helping him to dress, Frank called his supervisor. It was established that Frank wasn't aware that Jordan requires 2 support workers to help him shower, as detailed in his support plan. It was also identified that whilst 2 support workers were rostered on that day, Frank's co-worker had called in sick, which the supervisor wasn't made aware of. Clearly, some things went wrong. Let's take a look at how the Code's safety and competency element covering recruitment, training, supervision and support could have helped prevent an incident like Jordan's from occurring. For providers, this could include making sure that participant support plans are adequately resourced with appropriately trained workers, that organisational policies and procedures are in place to communicate and manage unexpected absences so that supports and services are delivered in a safe and competent manner. And additionally, that workers are skilled and supported to adopt NDIS values, including choice and control and person-centred approaches to prevent harm and to improve the outcomes for NDIS participants. The NDIS Workforce Capability Framework describes the attitudes, skills and knowledge expected of all workers funded under the NDIS. Back to Jordan's provider, a series of actions were taken to improve the awareness and effective skills of their workers to implement their participants' support plans competently and safely. This included code-supported practices, such as upskilling a number of surge support workers trained in the support plans of participants they do not regularly work with to provide coverage for unexpected absences. Implementing shadow shifts for all new staff so they can become familiar with the support plans and needs of the participants they are supporting. And in the case of Jordan, also doing a support plan review that considers showering alternatives such as baths, washcloths and dry bathing. This would provide Jordan with other options for the days when he doesn't want to shower. With Jordan's consent, these options are incorporated into his support plan, of which all staff either have the appropriate skills or are appropriately trained to support him. All of which has helped the provider to deliver safe and competent supports and services with care and skill in line with the Code of Conduct. As an NDIS provider, meeting your obligations, as outlined in the Code of Conduct, is essential as we all work to support the rights of people with disability. In this video, we'll focus on integrity, honesty, and transparency. This element will demonstrate what it means for providers and review a real-world scenario to illustrate the Code in practice. The Code states NDIS providers must act with integrity, honesty, and transparency. Maria has an intellectual disability and Sumetra is her support coordinator. Maria often asks Sumetra for advice. Following one of her recommendations, Maria signed up for a new fitness program. However, the new fitness program turned out to be far above her capabilities, leaving Maria feeling anxious, upset, and confused about why the class was recommended to her. Maria spoke with her brother Carlo about what had happened. And upon looking into it, Carlo discovered that the exercise program recommended by Sumetra was also run by the same provider that Sumetra works for. As this was not disclosed, Carlo helped Maria make a complaint to the provider. There may be times when it is appropriate to recommend extra supports and services to participants. However, providers must disclose all related, real or perceived conflicts of interest. Failure to do so undermines the rights of people with disability to make informed decisions about the supports and services they receive. In response to the complaint, the provider met with Maria and Carlo, where they apologised for not disclosing the conflict of interest. They also apologised to Maria for the advice given, acknowledging that the fitness program was not suited to her needs. Providing an honest response helped to re-establish the essential trust-based relationship crucial for high-quality service delivery as outlined in the Code. To ensure people with disability can make decisions in their best interest, free from incentives, pressure, deception and exploitation, providers have a responsibility to always ensure recommended supports and services are appropriate to participant needs, are accurately described, and are free from undisclosed conflicts, incentives or benefits to the provider or worker. Acting with integrity, honesty and transparency the provider reached out to help Maria find another exercise class that was more suited to her abilities and interests. They updated training courses for new and existing staff to emphasise the importance of honesty and thoroughly researching programs and participant goals before making recommendations. And they also put protocols in place for workers to inform clients of the conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest when cross-selling products. All of which has helped the provider continue to offer high-quality supports and services and regain Maria's trust as her provider in line with the code. As an NDIS provider, meeting your obligations, as outlined in the Code of Conduct, is essential as we all work to support the rights of people with disability. Conduct. In this video, we'll focus on eliminating violence, exploitation, neglect and abuse. This element will demonstrate what it means for providers and review a real-world scenario to illustrate the code in practice. The code states NDIS providers take all reasonable steps to prevent and respond to all forms of violence against, exploitation, neglect and abuse of people with disability. Tamara works for an NDIS provider as a disability support worker in a regional accommodations setting. One night, when arriving to assist Angela, an NDIS participant, she receives a handover from her colleague Julia, who is just finishing her shift. However, as Julia is leaving, Tamara notices that Angela appears withdrawn and upset. Tamara asks Angela why she's upset, and Angela responds by saying that Julia has been shouting at her, calling her stupid and useless. Tamara follows the provider's policy to report Julia's behaviour to her supervisor. However, they are currently understaffed and don't act on the concern. Any act of abuse against a person with disability is a serious breach of the NDIS Code of Conduct and may lead to legal action or being banned from working in the sector. The NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commission receives and responds to concerns, complaints and reportable incidents about NDIS providers, including abuse and neglect of NDIS participants. As Tamara has not seen or heard that action has been taken, she then escalates the matter to the provider's new Quality and Safety Manager. It is important that NDIS providers must take steps to prevent all forms of breaches to the code and respond quickly if they occur. The Quality and Safety Manager begins an internal review and finds that the concern Tamara has raised has not been addressed. As a result, they stop Julia from providing supports whilst the matter is being investigated. Evidence shows that people with disability are at a far greater risk of experiencing violence, exploitation, neglect and abuse than others in the population, and that this often goes unrecognised and unaddressed. To respect and uphold the rights of people with disability, all reasonable steps must be taken to prevent and respond to all forms of abuse. For providers, this includes having policies and procedures in place that are designed to eliminate all instances of violence, exploitation, neglect and abuse towards people with disability. Ensuring all participants and workers are aware of how to raise concerns, including whistleblower protections, noting their right to do so without fear of retribution, as well as encouraging workers to use their own initiative to be alert to the indicators and to help prevent all instances and all forms of abuse from occurring. Back to the provider. They arrange a call with Angela to apologise for what happened. They also inform her of how they intend to address this particular incident, as well as steps they will take to prevent future instances of abuse. Following the internal review of the incident involving Angela, a series of actions were taken to avoid a repeat of the reported incident and the failure to quickly address it. This included implementing code-supported practices, such as conducting a review of their continuous improvement and risk management processes to ensure incidents like this are learned from and promptly dealt with in the future. Implementing additional training for staff on the behaviours and actions that constitute abuse, as well as covering the available avenues they can use to report any concerns. And additionally, sending a newsletter addressed to all key personnel and workers, reminding them of the expectations and their obligations under the NDIS Code of Conduct. All of which further reinforced the provider's commitment to eliminating all forms of potential violence, exploitation, neglect and abuse towards people with disability when delivering their supports and services. As an NDIS provider, meeting your obligations, as outlined in the Code of Conduct, is essential as we all work to support the rights of people with disability. In this video, we'll focus on fair pricing. This element will demonstrate what it means for providers and review a real-world scenario to illustrate the code in practice. The code states NDIS providers do not charge or represent higher prices for the supply of goods for NDIS participants without a reasonable justification. Rahid, an NDIS participant, was advised by his allied health therapist to purchase a new shower chair after a bathing incident which could have resulted in an injury. A suitable shower chair was available at a nearby store that is also registered as an NDIS provider. Rahid purchased the new shower chair for $170 using his NDIS plan. During a family dinner, it was discovered that a family friend who was not an NDIS participant recently purchased the same chair from the same store. The family friend paid $100, not $170 like Rahid. Rahid's daughter felt that her father was taken advantage of because he has an NDIS plan. She phones the store to ask about the $70 price difference. Often driven by supply and demand, it is accepted that product prices will vary over time and between locations. However, what is not acceptable is consumers being charged a higher price for disability-related supports and services simply because they are NDIS participants. The provider listens to the concerns of Rahid's daughter and apologises to them both. They also offer compensation and check that they are satisfied with the resolution. Whilst the provider sought to remedy the complaint, the practice of charging an NDIS participant more than they would a non-participant for the same or substantially same goods without reasonable justification is known as price differentiation or unfair pricing. This is prohibited. NDIS participants have the right to access appropriate and affordable goods and services. Meeting the obligations of the Code of Conduct requires that all reasonable steps are taken to ensure participants are not taken advantage of when purchasing goods in the market and that their rights are respected. For providers, this includes ensuring unfair pricing that discriminates against participants is not in place across their product range. Back to the store, the provider gives Rahid and his daughter an update on the actions taken as a result of their concerns. This included code-supported practices, such as an update to their worker induction training with an emphasis on fair pricing and their obligations under the NDIS Code of Conduct, and has commenced reviewing and adjusting all its pricing to make sure NDIS participants are not being charged more for the same products as customers who are not NDIS participants. By responding promptly and proactively to unfair pricing concerns, the provider was able to offer a resolution that the participant was satisfied with and bring business practices in line with the NDIS Code of Conduct. As an NDIS provider, meeting your obligations, as outlined in the Code of Conduct, is essential as we all work to support the rights of people with disability.